I'm going to talk about something that makes it real. The foundations of all engineering programs end up sitting on data and cloud. So those are the areas I'm going to talk about. My name is Naveen Sharma. I run our data analytics and AI business at Cognizant. Been here 16 years, and I'm going to walk you through the journey of where we stand with data and the cloud. So let's first look at the market. To the left, you see the numbers, right? 840 billion TAM that we estimate exists today. Look at the CAGR of that. Such a large market with such growth potential. You can do the math. It's expanding $64 billion every year. Where we stand today is the bottom left. You can see we're very well qualified. Nearly 40% of our revenue comes from doing work in the data and cloud space for our clients. Now, how did we get there? How did we realize this value? Go to the top right of the slide, and let's talk a little bit about our differentiation. Vibha touched on this theme already. Our go-to-market is very strongly indexed on industry focus and alignment. I'll talk a little bit about some of these solutions that we've built. So 120 plus solutions that are purpose-built for the industry. In addition to these purpose-built solutions, over the last few years, we've started to build purpose-built AI and machine learning models. So if you're a bank, you're looking to reduce the amount of credit card fraud that happens, you're looking to flag it quickly, you're looking to make sure that the fraudsters don't get away with too much. We've built a model that helps you flag it, helps you detect it, helps you stop the transaction in near real time. Similarly, we've built models in healthcare. I'll talk about one of those in subsequent slides. The thought here being healthcare is a complex business. To review claims in healthcare, you need folks that have had a certain amount of medical education. How do we take those folks, those highly expensive folks, specialized in their area, and how do we take their effort away from doing paperwork review to something that is higher value? So we'll show you that in a few minutes. This has been built by a large set of platforms that are more horizontal. I spoke about industry use cases. Data and cloud is also platform specific, that is horizontal. I'll talk about a specific platform, Ignition. Prasad touched on a few of these platforms already. Vibha touched on one or two of those. I'll show you what these platforms can do to speed up the journey for our clients. This is what we're doing on the inside. At the bottom right of the slide, you can see some of the recognition that we've received from analysts, industry analysts, that review the space for a living. In each of these analyst content collateral that is published, we end up in the top right. In the top right is, I think, you can look at these names, you can see where the competition is, and you can see where we are, and we feel very proud about our position in here. Bringing it back to what Ravi touched on, the 3-vector strategy, right? So this is every client that we work with is executing on all 3 vectors. Some are further along on vector 1, some are starting vector 2, some have already made the leap into vector 3. Doesn't really matter. Every client is on this journey somewhere. To realize these 3 vectors, we think they have to start looking at a new technology stack, and that's what we call out on the right. I'm going to walk you through this. I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. And once I do one or two of those, you'll see where I'm headed with this. The bottom of this is a scalable foundation. For the next 10 to 15 minutes, I may call this cloud, but I want you to think of this as the true basic foundation. It's the cloud infrastructure, it's SaaS capabilities, it's the digital engineering work that Prasad touched on, it's the work that happens within APIs, it's the work that happens within BPO, it's the work that happens within cybersecurity. Unless you have a secure and scalable digital foundation, you're not really going to build up anything over it. The layer above that is the enterprise data layer. Now, this used to be fairly simple. Plug in and connect my enterprise systems, and I'm good to go. That's no longer the case. The data that our clients work with today is not just structured. Every single client that we work with now has video data, has image data, has audio data sometimes, has click stream that comes in from their website, from their mobile apps. So how do you bring all of these different data sets together and be able to actually derive meaning out of them? That analytics and insight from the data is the key part. So those are the 2 layers that I'm going to talk about. But to realize value, you do need to look at the other 3 layers as well. So going back up, the decisioning, trust, and model management layer. Be it a simple analytics model, be it a simple machine learning model that you've built over the years, or be it an AI model. These models are not going to govern themselves. These models are not going to configure themselves for your enterprise. That configuration, that governance, that adapting the model to fit into your workflow is the 3rd part of this stack. That's obviously something that takes effort. We've been doing a fair bit of work in this space. Very proud about this. The layer at the top is closer to vector number 3, agentifying the enterprise. That's the multi-agent orchestration. So if within your enterprise, you've now got multiple agents, each purpose-built, each speaking to your enterprise systems, each serving different client needs, how do you bring them all together to make sure they behave responsibly? The right work is being done by the right agent, the right outputs are being passed to the next agent, and all of this is acting in cohesion. That's the work that Babak is going to show you in the multi-agent orchestration space. If you haven't seen that demo, I highly encourage you to stop by. George, somewhere in the back over there, is going to walk you through that demo. I think that's going to be fascinating. The layer at the top is the experience layer. We already spoke about this. Ben has been working on this with his team on rewiring that whole experience layer. It is no longer just boxes on a screen. It's going to be a mix of every single modal communication that you have, bringing all of these together. So those are the 5 layers of the new technology stack that we think you need to realize. I'm going to focus on these bottom 2. So let's start very quickly with those 2 layers. On the left of the slide, you'll see the work that we do within the space of enterprise data. Doesn't matter where you are in your data journey. We have clients that are in what we would consider the foundation layer, right? The data foundation that they built is traditional. The data assets that they have are traditional. For some reason, they haven't moved away from the traditional ecosystem. That's okay. We play in that space, we help them maintain that space, we help them optimize that space, and sometimes we help them unlock value that leads into the next layers. The next layer is your data and AI management. This is where you start to make sense of data. So you've got data, is it good, is it reliable, is it trustable? Do I really know who my clients are, who my suppliers are, who my stakeholders are, where's my data quality? All of those things come together, not just in data, but also in AI assets. Third part, data modernization. This is our biggest piece of work in this space. This is where we help clients move into the new. The new is defined as anything that was, we define it as anything that was built in the last 10 years. And we think this is something that's important. It's our largest book of work in this space. It's also a book that keeps evolving. So what was 10 years ago? Hadoop was modern. Today we do a significant amount of work modernizing clients away from Hadoop. So this creates its own refresh cycle. The BI and visualization layer is being redone. Very, very few clients want to go down the path of traditional dashboards. This is all turning into conversational AI. Ask a question, get an answer, do it quickly without making me click through 10 steps. And the last piece is analytics and AI, the most exciting piece of work that we do. This is where we build new models that help clients be predictive and also build prescriptive models that tell them what to do next. So that's the stack on the data side. Let's shift to the cloud. And remember, this is my expanded definition of the cloud. So it's cloud and SaaS and cyber and all of those things that go together in that foundation. Every client's on a different place in their journey. There are some that are still making the move to the cloud. For those clients, we come in and we help them build the capability from upfront. So we help them advise on what to do. Is it a singular cloud? Is it a multi-cloud? Is it a mix of cloud and on-prem? We help them design and migrate to the cloud. Once the client is on the cloud, the next piece is the enablement for the cloud. So now you've got an asset that is scalable and does new things. How do you take advantage of that? How do you make sure you do it in a secure manner? How do you make sure that the 10 things you were doing on-premise are not the same 10 things you're doing today? So that optimization, that securing is what happens in this second offering for the cloud. And the last piece is the most interesting one. This is new capabilities that we unlock. So enablement by the cloud. Now you're on a modern stack. Now you've got the latest and greatest capabilities. How do you unlock new business capabilities that you may not have had that drive top line, help you manage your bottom line? So bringing all of those things together is what we do in the cloud space. This is a data and technology view. Here's an industry-specific view. So I touched on this. I'm going to do a very quick drive-by. So I've got examples of 5 different solutions, right? Over 120 exist, but we've called out 5. Look at the first one in here. For our life sciences clients, life science companies go through a large multi-year journey in trying to identify and trying to speed up the R&D process. A big component of that is identifying sites where trials can be conducted. This asset that we've been working on for years actually helps them improve site activation by over 57%. If you're a quick service restaurant, that's where OrderServe comes in. Every quick service restaurant struggles with how do you build that digital infrastructure to quickly bring in orders, to deliver orders fast, and to do it with a certain amount of cost predictability. OrderServe helps our clients reduce the cost for building out that scalable architecture by 30%. So something that a QSR can deploy quickly and manage costs. This next one is something that I touched on already. If you're a healthcare payer, you get thousands of claims that come in where people are saying, I should have been given this treatment. Why was I declined this treatment? The traditional manner has been you have to pay someone that either has a nursing background or a medicine background to review those claims. They have to review those claims, go back and forth, and they still use fax machines for some of this, go back and forth over fax machines, and then turn around and answer. We've short-circuited that whole process, built a solution that uses generative AI to look at the inbound claim, review it, turn around with a decision very quickly. Currently running at 86% accuracy. And this improves every single implementation that we do. So this is something that I want to call out. Let's talk a little bit about a broader story that I'm going to go deeper into, Cognizant Ignition. We spoke about how data is prevalent, how data really drives what an enterprise does. What does that really mean for each of our clients? So let me just walk you through Ignition in a little bit of detail. The way to look at Ignition is it's a set of tools that help you manage your data journey, where you are. So on the left side, you'll see we've got an asset that helps you discover where you are. What does my data estate look like? What do I have and where does it sit and how do I manage it? Once I know what I have, how do I migrate it onto wherever I want to go? So X to Y sort of migration. Sitting on Teradata today, I want to go to a Databricks, a Snowflake, or something else in the future. Once I'm doing that, how do I integrate with my existing assets? How do I make sure that integration is done with quality and predictability? And then how do I start to drive meaning out of it? So those are the 5 modules in this asset. The guiding principles for doing this are in the middle. We're not going to go to a client to tell them to use AI without using it ourselves. So we use a fair bit of AI to look at data quality, to manage the migration, to do metadata discovery when we go from platform 1 to platform 2. Use a fair bit of no-code and low-code capabilities within this platform, so the implementation is faster, the build time is faster. We've been able to do this with about 140 folks, patents that are protected here, and look at the outcomes. Over 12 petabytes of data that have been moved using this platform. Over 1 million hours, person hours of savings realized from this platform. To give you a sense of the size and scale of where we deploy this, one of the largest banks in the country, headquartered right here in New York City, used this asset to speed up their data modernization journey. One of the largest telecom providers in the country used this asset to speed up their data migration and modernization journey. So that's an example of the kind of work that we do with these platforms. How do we build these platforms? Well, one, not in isolation. We've got a large number of net partners that we work with. The ones that you see on here are some of our long-standing relationships. The good news here is that we're in podium position with each of these, sometimes in size of revenue, sometimes in number of trained resources, sometimes in our joint go-to-market, sometimes just having the data and analytics practice of the year consistently. So these are all companies that we work with over the years. This one at the bottom is interesting. If any of you were at GTC, you would have caught Jensen at the Cognizant booth telling everyone that if you want to modernize your business, go work with Cognizant. That's a hilarious video. I'd love to show it to you if you're interested in seeing that. Stop by in a break and I'll show you what that is. So take this energy from all partners and the capability that they have. Bring in the work that our people do. We've got a large pool of very talented resources, people that work on these platforms. When you combine the 34,000 data and AI associates, the 92,000 cloud engineers, the 38,000 cloud architects that we've got, when you combine all of them together, that's when we start to get the grassroots innovation really firing. So all of these platforms that you see on the right came about as a result of that grassroots innovation. The investments that we made obviously help it, but this is how we keep that engine running so we never actually fall behind the curve. So that's how we build this stuff. I shared all of this. So what does that mean for a client? What does a client do with any of this? So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about this client, which is a very large biopharma company. They focus on antiviral drugs. They focus on HIV/AIDS, cancer, all sorts of serious health conditions that need a fair bit of science. For this client, we started off in the first tower around cloud modernization. So they were on the cloud. How do you modernize the cloud and optimize it for them? Be it something as simple as going in and saying, how do I take your IT operations and bring it into this century? How do I make sure that your applications are safe, secure, and risk-free? Doing that sort of basic work allowed us to unlock the next phase, which is the data modernization journey. So as they moved into their roadmap of cloud-first data management, how do we make sure that data is secure and available to all the applications? Look at some of the savings we've realized for them, right? 70% automation of data and schema migration and conversion. The next one in here is around master data harmonization. They did an acquisition. They were able to bring in data from this acquired company in a matter of 3 months, harmonize all of the records, have the Salesforce pointing at the same set of prescribers, same set of employees, just consistency between two companies. Leading to the third tower, which is enterprise and agentic AI. This is where we use machine learning to build out the set of multi-agent capabilities. These agents go across customer service, employee experience, and then we use our orchestration layer to bring them together. So that by itself is an example of what we've done, a journey that we've executed for a client. The thing that you don't see on the slide that I want to draw attention to, this is not a left to right arrow. Every time we did something in the first tower, it unlocked something in the second tower, which unlocked something in the third tower. And when we unlocked something in the third tower, that actually created this flywheel of, now I need new capabilities in my first tower. So in some ways, this flywheel is powering itself in terms of innovation for our clients. And obviously that allows us to go deeper and build more meaningful relationships. So to summarize our right to win, we go to market by domain. We build domain-specific solutions that obviously leads to these things, right? So you get a faster deal cycle, you get higher client retention, we are able to deliver fast. I spoke about our suite of platforms, unlocks net new revenue streams for us, allows us to push new capabilities into our client ecosystem. We do AI-powered data modernization that leads to larger contract sizes, leads to higher margin consulting work, and creates long-term stickiness. Number 4, the space of data ops and cloud cost optimization is big for us. Every single CIO that we work with feels that they're spending more on this than they plan to. We've got the ability to go in and help them unlock that value. We'll commit to commercial models where we realize a certain percentage of savings that we generate for the client. If we don't save them anything, we don't walk away with anything. But if we do, we get a certain percentage, which leads to long-term stickiness for us. And the last piece is AI-driven compliance. This is going to become bigger and bigger for us. We feel very strongly about this. We're the first SI to actually have ISO 42001 accreditation in this. We feel proud about that. We're going to keep investing and building in this space. So really, to summarize, the market's large, the space is growing. We feel that we have a very good position in this space, given the work that we've done, the capabilities we've developed, and the value we deliver for our clients, continue to invest in building these capabilities. And where we stand today, we think we have the largest data analytics and cloud capability across our peer group. So given that advantage, we feel very strongly about our position in this space. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Surya, who's going to talk about the work we've done with one of our clients.